วัสดีครับท่านผู้ชมครับยินดีต้อนรับเข้าสู่รายการคุยไร้กระบวนท่านะครับวันนี้ผมมาที่บ้านของท่านเอกอัครราชทูตท่านหนึ่งเพื่อที่จะมาพูดคุยกันเกี่ยวกับเรื่องของประเทศไทยและก็ความสัมพันธ์กับประเทศของเขานะครับชาตินี้ครับท่านผู้ชมครับหลายคนเลยเวลาที่เราคุยกับคนต่างชาติแล้วบอกว่าคนไทยเราคล้ายกับชาติไหนจะต้องบอกว่าชาตินี้แหละครับเพราะมีอุปนิสัยคล้ายๆกันคือเป็นชาติที่มีความผูกพันกับครอบครัวตัวเองมีความคิดสร้างสรรค์แต่บางครั้งอาจจะบอกว่าเวลาทำอะไรแล้วเนี่ยมีการความยืดหยุ่นเยอะพอสมควรมีการปรับเปลี่ยนค่อนข้างเยอะใช้จินตนาการค่อนข้างเยอะผมหมายถึงอิตาลีครับแล้ววันนี้ผมจะมาพูดคุยกันนะครับกับท่านเอกอัครราชทูตอิตาลีประจำประเทศไทยในหลากหลายประเด็นไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องความคล้ายคลึงระหว่างเรากับเขารวมถึงเรื่องของความสัมพันธ์ในเชิงการค้าการลงทุนของทั้งสองประเทศส่วนจะเป็นอย่างไรติดตามกันเลยครับ People say Germany is on the one side they are very structured very planning whereas the Italian are very pragmatic how do you feel about this comparison
I would be typically Italian and kind of last minute, so it's just a matter of points of view, you know.
วันนี้นะครับเรามากันที่สถานเอกอัครราชทูตนะครับแห่งหนึ่งซึ่งต้องบอกว่าเป็นสถานทูตของประเทศที่อยู่ในกลุ่มประเทศ G8 ด้วยนะครับมีเศรษฐกิจขนาดใหญ่และหลายคนบอกว่าคนประเทศนี้มีบุคลิกเนี่ยคล้ายๆกันกับคนไทยครับวันนี้เราจะมาอยู่กับท่านเอกอัครราชทูตอิตาลีประจำประเทศไทยSua Eccellenza l'ambasciatore benvenuto al nostro programma
Grazie, benvenuti in residenza.
นะครับ Well first Thai people when we talk about Italians we always think the Thais and the Italians are pretty similar how do you see that
In fact, I've been here for 1 year and 3 months, and I must say I found striking similarities. First of all, in terms of values. I mean, we both think that family is important, and we help each other within the family. Family is, so to speak, our social network. And then friendship, and I think the idea that even in business, in doing business, we want to develop a certain degree of friendship. Before we really get into business. And I think this works very well because we're very similar in that.
Well, due to the fact that what I have, correct me if I'm wrong, you are the mixture of German and Italian, the two extremes. People say Germany is on the one side, they are very structured, very planning, whereas the Italian are very pragmatic. How do you feel about this comparison?
Well, yes, in fact, my mother's German and my father was Italian. And I've always lived in Italy. I was born in Germany, but I was brought up and I studied in Italy, in Florence. For the Italians, though, I would be very strict and disciplined. Whereas for the Germans, I would be typically Italian and kind of last minute and always late and very pragmatic. So it's just a matter of points of view, you know, who's looking at you. So I feel, of course, Italian. But I admit that there's probably some influence from Germany in terms of discipline and organization, a little bit, but maybe not enough for a German to really detect it.
I like that. Different point of view.
Yeah.
One point, when people talk about Italian, like you mentioned, l'ultimo minuto, last minute, sometimes not a lot of preparation, but finally, you are one among the G8.
Yes.
You have one of the largest economy in the world.
Yes.
What are the strengths of Italy and Italian industry?
Italy is the second largest manufacturer in Europe after Germany, and not many people know that.
Which kind of manufacturers? Cars, machinery, or what?
Machinery, industrial machinery, cars, aerospace, lots of technology. You know, parts, some modules of the International Space Station are made in Italy. And this is something not many people know. So there's a lot of technology that comes from Italy. Also because the Italian manufacturing system is very innovation oriented, so to speak.
Very avant-garde, so to say.
Very avant-garde. We have a the largest number of small and medium enterprises in Europe. I would say we are the first country in terms of small and medium enterprises. 99% of our companies are small, medium, or micro. And we're speaking about globally 3.8 million companies in Italy. So I would say about 3,200 are large companies who have more than 250 employees. And all the others, so more than 3 million, are small and medium-sized companies. These companies are very flexible. They are very, swift.
Agile.
Yes, agile. And so they're able to join supply chains for international supply chains. For example, the car industry in Italy is very much linked to the German car industry. When you buy a German car, there's a lot of Italian components inside. So you shouldn't always think in terms of the final product, but what's the supply chain? And in the supply chain, you easily find some Italian companies.
Oh, I see. Let's say components in the final product.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the strength of a small or a medium enterprise is that they can tailor their products easily to the needs of the customer. The customer says, I like this product, but I need it
Adjusted
a little
somehow.
different. And so they are able to do that in a quick way. And that's, I think, our main strength. And then, of course, R&D, research and development. I think Italy is the first country for a number of references per scientific research. And
This is new to me.
yeah, and in the last 20 years, Italy is the first country for a number of scientific publications, if we look at 20 years. So that's quite impressive.
Let's come to SMEs. Once you talk about numbers, over 3 million and so on, in terms of proportion of SMEs incomes per GDP or per capita, I heard that you represent large proportion. I mean SME
Yes.
represent large
Yes.
proportion, even much
80%.
more than European average.
80%.
Wow.
80% of the GDP is made by SMEs. And when I say SMEs, I don't mean only manufacturing and production of goods. I mean services, financial services, tourism, retail, of course. So that explains it. It's not just manufacturing.
Well.
Although, as I said, manufacturing is the backbone of our industry.
Well, the point is, does it come from historical origins that you have a lot of SMEs? What kind of development that really pushed the SME to be major part of your GDP?
That goes back, I think, to two things. One is the family, and the other thing is the workshop. Historically speaking, like I mentioned, for Italians, family is important. Family is a social, is the network, let's say, of socially speaking.
You're just like Thailand.
Just like Thailand. But at the same time, it would be also the backbone of the company. The father, the mother, and the kids would all work in the same company. So many businesses are family-led. They are small. People work overtime if they have, if they work in their family business. So somehow that is also a strength. And these family businesses, they remain small. Usually, when we think of the doctrine, the economics, the economic theories, we think of companies that start small, become medium, become big, large, and then eventually maybe they disappear and they become something else. This is not the case in Italy. In Italy, some family-owned businesses, they like to stay small because the family wants to control the product, the brand, they like to be in charge of everything.
They want to be hands-on.
They want to be hands-on. Most of the time, they are very knowledgeable about what they produce. So you talk to the CEO, and he knows exactly what's going on in the company, not so much in terms of management, but in terms of the product and the machinery and the technology and so on. So they don't, most of the companies, for example, I speak to when I go to fairs here in Thailand, they were funded 100 years ago, 80 years ago. So they've been there or 50 years ago. And they are still innovative. They are still advanced in terms of what they offer here. I'm speaking about textile machinery, which has become 4.0, digital and so on. I'm speaking, and new materials oriented. I'm speaking about medical equipment, medical devices. There was a fair just last week at Impact Arena. This week, there'll be a fair about wires and tubes. And again, there's a large group of Italian companies. Of course, food and hotel. That's another thing. Italian small and medium companies work in all sectors across the board.
And I think that we experience many of your products daily.
Yes.
But it seems that in terms of influence of Italy in this particular region, I'm not talking about Asia, but rather Southeast Asia, seems to be very minimal in comparison to other members of the G8.
Yes.
Why is that? And what kind of strategy that you want to drive forward?
I think Italy has had a focus probably on other countries in the broader region for a long time.
Yes.
And the discovery, so to speak, of Southeast Asia happened about maybe 8 years ago and developed gradually. So there's a lot of work to be done. And in order to raise awareness in Italy about ASEAN. Nowadays, though, the growth rate of ASEAN countries relative to the growth rate of many other countries in the world is such that ASEAN is becoming interesting as a destination for business per se. I mean, no need to make a lot of advertising. But you have to have a strategy. And what we do have is very interesting in terms of the region. Of course, bilaterally, I will come to that later. We have other tools. But in terms of the ASEAN region, an Italian think tank that is called the European House Ambrosetti, which also organizes the Italian Davos in Cernobbio, near Como. They started 3 years ago with what they call the high-level economic dialogue between Italy and ASEAN. They gather hundreds of companies from Italy and from ASEAN, and they organize a yearly event, the first edition in Jakarta, the second in Singapore, the third in Hanoi this year, and we look at maybe Thailand next year or the following one. And there's usually a member of the Italian government, a minister, or the prime minister. We had the prime minister this year in Hanoi, and of course a counterpart from the local government. And we invite the Secretary General of ASEAN. And it's a 1.5 day of panel discussions and B2B meetings. And I must say this is working a lot. And ASEAN, the ASEAN Secretariat, as well as other European member states, look at this as a best practice. In fact, it's a best practice because we're seeing increased interest from Italy towards this region and increased business. If we look at trade exchange, it's growing with Thailand as well, but also with Vietnam, for example, a very important partner, with Indonesia, with Malaysia, with Singapore.
apart from trading and business, transfer of knowledge. Whenever I saw the exhibition about Italy, it's always about arts, which is important, but rather in some other dimension, which particular areas that you have in mind now to plan for knowledge exchange or transfer of technology, not for ASEAN but also for Thailand?
Yeah. I looked carefully at the strategy that Thailand has to develop further and, as they say, escape the middle income trap. The strategy is very oriented on technology and infrastructure. We're speaking about 5G, we're speaking about hard infrastructure, we're speaking about the Eastern Economic Corridor as a hub to attract foreign investment which has technological content. That's where I want to be. That's where I want to attract Italian companies. We already have some investment from Italy here since, I would say, 10 years or so. Danieli, for example, Ducati, motorbikes, Cavagna. Danieli is producing machines for metal manufacturing.
Oh, okay. Upstream industry.
Yes.
Like that.
And they sell it in the region from Thailand. Ducati, of course, producing motorcycles. And we will have the MotoGP at the beginning of October in Buriram.
Okay.
I will be there. And then there's a number of other companies, tire makers, and so on. But what we look at is to attract Italian companies that have high technology production. They don't have to be large companies. Because like I said...
It doesn't have to be big chunk of investment.
No. Sometimes we have unique technologies and patents in small and medium-sized companies. So we have to live with that. So what I do currently, I work a lot on fairs because fairs in Thailand are growing and becoming regional, attractive at a regional level. So you come to Thailand as a company from Italy and you meet entrepreneurs from Thailand, from Malaysia, from Singapore, from many countries of the region. And those companies, they come many years, not just 1 year. It doesn't make much sense to come for one fair. They have to come
repetitive.
And then you get to know the market, the people, the companies, and then maybe you think of investing here.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, my job is to attract investment to Italy from Thailand.
To Italy. Which particular sector that you have an eye on?
So there's already a very important investment by Central Group. They have invested in a historic department store chain.
La Rinascente.
And they have developed beautiful flagship stores in Milan, in Rome, and the next one will open in Turin at the beginning of October. And it's very successful. It attracts tourists as well as Italians because these malls, these department stores, are located in the in the historic city centers. So as a tourist, you don't need to move to an outlet outside of the city. While you enjoy the city and its restaurants and cafes and museums, you can also go to La Rinascente. So it's
Centro della città.
Yeah, exactly.
Two things that you interest me really a lot is flexibility as well as agility of Italians, which sound quite similar to Thai people. If you would give an advice to the Thai people or to youngsters who have agility and flexibility that they might not have maximized it, what would you recommend?
I think that Thais do have many talents. They're creative. They are beauty oriented because if you can
will
look
that
at
add
Thais
value
silk,
to
for
our
example.
industry?
Absolutely. I think so. From an Italian perspective, beauty is very important. Like Dostoevsky said, beauty is what will save us ultimately, right?
Bellezza.
La bellezza ci salverà. So I think that is very important. It brings us very close in terms of what we can do also in the creative industry. So I think that is definitely something to cherish. At the same time, though, and I'm not saying anything new here because this is a problem that the government has identified. A skilled workforce. If you want to develop high-tech industry here, you need to have a skilled workforce. And I think the latest measures by the government go exactly in that direction. They open up also to the private sector to develop education programs in high tech for their employees or for future employees. It's actually a model that has been used. Even Ducati, they have had training courses for their engineers for a while. So now they enjoy some fiscal privilege, some tax privileges, and I think that's a good measure. It's a very wise measure.
Sì, parliamo di calcio. Quale squadra che tifa?
Fiorentina. I'm from Florence, so Fiorentina. But my son is an Inter Milan fan, so of course I also like Inter Milan because I see him happy, and when Inter Milan wins and when he's happy, I'm happy.
Well, the reason I asked the ambassador about football is because many times we see Italian mentality in football, creativity, flexibility, agility. Can you give some comments about your Italian football, especially at this particular moment?
I think, yes. I think this is a very good moment for Italian football. We have a new impulse, I think, new momentum, new impetus.
Nuovo allenatore anche.
Nuovi allenatori, new trainers, new coaches, and I think that we'll be seeing more of it, and of course also in the next World Championship, I hope.
Well,
but yes, you have to be nimble in life and in culture.
Wow. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
It was a great pleasure.
Le ringrazio moltissimo per il tempo.
Grazie, un grande piacere.
นั่นก็เป็นการพูดคุยนะครับกับท่านเอกอัครราชทูตอิตาลีประจำประเทศไทยในหลายเรื่องโดยเฉพาะยิ่งเลยจิตวิญญาณและอุปนิสัยที่คล้ายคลึงกันระหว่างอิตาลีกับไทยครับ
กดติดตามและกดกระดิ่งแจ้งเตือนจะได้ไม่พลาดคลิปใหม่ๆจากNEW18กันนะคะ